So Ray Poynter here, co-founder of Word Cloud Plus, and we're going to be looking at how we can use a word cloud to generate coding of open-ended responses. I'm going to start with a very quick reminder about what coding is when we're talking about things like survey data, a little bit about what is a word cloud, and then somewhat longer looking at how we can code open-ended surveys and how we can code text in the longer form of text, like reports, books, all of these sorts of things. And then just a little bit of closing detail about Word Cloud Plus. So if we've done a survey, we will often ask an open-ended question. And this is from a project we ran at NewMR a few years ago, and we've used it several times in developing analysis software. And one of the open-ended questions was, what makes a great presenter? And maybe person number 25 said, clever way of involving people using voice, pause to get attention, eye-catching slides. And we need to summarize that. We either need to summarize it in text form if we're going to do it qualitatively, or we sometimes operationalize that information into numbers. And we say, how many people mentioned voice? How many people mentioned the audience? How many people mentioned humor? And then we go down and we gather that information to find out what are the most frequent things that are said and the phrases that are used. Now, it varies by how much data we've got. If we've got 100 people, then there is no better solution than reading them all. Maybe copy and paste them into ChatGPT, but you might worry about what happens to the intellectual property of your client if you put it into ChatGPT. But it's really straightforward. You read 100 comments, you code it, or you internalize it, or you use context analysis or some other form of analysis to understand it. If you've got 500, it's a bigger job. It's going to take longer to code that information. And there are some real problems with order effects. The first 50 or so you read are really going to shape your thinking. In fact, sometimes you will find that people create a code frame by looking at the first 50, 100, and then will code the rest of it, or even delegate the coding to somebody else for the rest of it. So those order effects can come into play. Now, that could be a regional thing. Imagine you're doing it in the United States, you start the study at 9 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time, you're going to get more East Coast data in the front end of your survey. So there can be some real issues about order effects. If you're looking at documents, it's going to be biased towards the front and the start of those documents. Now let's say we go to 5,000 or 500,000 or 5 million open-ended comments. Now, what you are probably going to do, unless you can afford an AI solution that's bespoke to the task, is take a random sample. You might take 500, you might take 1,000 and code those manually. And that still has the order effect. So now we're sampling and we've got order effects. So there are a couple of challenges in going through this way. So I've mentioned word cloud. So this is a simple word cloud from that same data. This is the word cloud that's generated automatically. This is from the free version of Word Cloud Plus. And that already gives you some idea of phrases that crop up frequently. I would never advocate summarizing a piece of text just by looking at the word cloud. It's not going to give you enough depth. So what can we do beyond that? Well, in the premium feature of Word Cloud Plus, you can generate a cloud and then use its coding facility. And I'm going to show you the coding facility in a moment. And it concentrates on the most frequently occurring words and the most frequently occurring phrases. So instead of starting at the top and working our way down, we start with whatever it is that occurs the most often. And once we've done some coding, we can then summarize the patterns to understand it. So let's have a look at an example. In this example, I'm going to show you how we can use Word Cloud Plus to do some coding with the responses to an open-ended survey. So this was a survey we ran a few years ago. I've used it quite a few times in some of the Word Cloud Plus examples. So We're looking at the answers to a question, what makes a good presenter? And I've already copied all of the answers. I'm going to paste them into there and we're going to have a look at the word cloud. So we see all of these words going on here, and what we're going to do is use this as the starting point for some coding. Now to start with, I'm going to drop the number of visible points down to 30 so that I'm working with slightly fewer. And we can start pulling different things together. So we notice, for example, that voice comes up. So let's go to voice and we're going to go to coding. And I'm going to create a code and it's going to be voice. And there's no need to make it any more complicated than that. And so we've added that code in there. Now we've got tone of voice over here. So let's tell it that whenever it sees tone of voice, that's also a voice thing. We've got voice modulation over here. So we'll tell it that voice modulation is voice. So that's a starting point. What else can we be looking at? Well, we've got body language over here. So we're going to create a new code. We're going to tell it that we're interested in body. And this time I am going to use a slightly longer label. And we're going to see if we've got any other references to body language. We're going to tell it that's there. And as we start to work our way through, we might find some more features around that. But the next thing I'm going to pick up on is engage the audience. So that is engagement. We're going to create a new code. Engaging the audience. So engage is also part of engaging the audience. If we look at what else that we've got, the ability to engage, let's put that phrase in as another engaging. We've got engaging on its own, so we'll put that in. Involve the audience. Well, that's also engaging, isn't it? So we've got those coming in together there. And next, we've got this one about subject matter. So subject, and then we've got the subject / topic as the label. And interesting content. Actually, first of all, we'll do subject, then we'll go interesting content. So that's also the subject topic. So I'm not sure about this one, so let's have a look and we'll see what the references are. Content presented in an engaging way, delivery, combination of content. Okay, so that's not particularly useful, except that it says it's more than one thing. If we have a look at what argument supporting, interactive argument, slides and the argument. So that's probably worth highlighting, this element of how you bring it across together. So we're going to create a new label. And we've perhaps got another one that we want to pick up here, which is easy to understand. And we're going to create a new one, which is easy understand. The name has to be a single word. So I've got to mash them together there. But here we can put easy to understand. And we're going to put easy to understand here. And simple slides, I'm going to bring that as an easy to understand as well. So now I'm going to push the number of words back up to 50, just to see if it throws a few more things in that I should be interested in. Sense of humour, visual slides, clear humour. So maybe I would put humour in. Ability to hold is going to be the engagement thing, but I'm going to go with knowledge and say that knowledge is going to be related to the argument. The ability to put together a good, strong sort of thing. If we have a look at voice and body, then voice is there, body is there, and voice and body we don't want to give a single code to because the two parts are coded. Relevant, language, correct presenter, confident. We're looking through. It doesn't look as though there's... Oh, actually, let's have a look at audience. Have a look at references. Yeah, pretty much everything about audience is related to engagement. So we can code the audience phrases as being to do with engagement. Let's have a look and see what clear is linking to. Yep, so that's going to go with easy to understand. So we've already pulled up a lot of the features in there, and what we can do now to get a sense of this is we'll go to the coding tab. And if we go to the coding tab, it shows us that we've used these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 codes, and that body language actually doesn't crop up very much. There are just 7 references to body language in all of the text. So it's important, it does crop up. Whereas voice, much more, and we can pick particular phrases out of here. So if we're trying to report on the analysis, we could pick on 1 or 2 of these. We could go through. So here it just says voice modulation and passage. This will take us through to where that comes up in the text and what else comes back along with it. So we'll go back to the coding. So the biggest single phrase are things relating to engaging the audience. And we can look at all of these different references to engaging the audience to get some examples. We've got the phrases at the top that we code. So we've already got a structure of what is going on. Rather than read the document from the top to the bottom, which bring in all sorts of order biases, what we've done is we've highlighted the words that occur the most often. We've seen which ones link to themes, and then we can take that through to another level. So we'll just go back to the word cloud, and that is the starting point. This word cloud isn't really a deliverable. This word cloud is part of the process we use to create that coding. And we can then use that coding in lots and lots of different ways, depending on what the project is about. So just to summarize what was happening there, it's still a sampling approach. Imagine we got tens of thousands of words. We're still sampling, but instead of a random sample, it's taking the words and phrases that occur the most often as the starting point, and we flag those up and we group those together, and we can look at what they represent in the underlying text, how they relate to each other, their frequency, and so on. Instead of reading all this to newest, the first to last, we're starting in the middle, but starting in the busiest parts of the information where there is more information to gather. What about other forms of open text? So I've used it with reports, for example, like the Grit report, to find out what are the most frequently occurring things. I've used it with speeches like the State of the Union speech for South Africa, the State of the Union speech for the United States, where you can look at which phrases are coming together so that we can find out and pull that information. I've used it with reviews. One of the things I often do when I'm using it as an example is with books and so on. So I'm about to show you an example using the wonderful Wizard of Oz book by Frank Baum. The book is not the same as the film. There are one or two interesting differences, and you might be able to pick that up from what I'm about to show you. In this example of using Word Cloud Plus for coding, I'm going to take a book. It could have been a report or anything, but for example purposes, I've downloaded from Project Gutenberg, The Wonderful World of Oz. So we'll just put that in as a title. And we'll paste in the book, and obviously it's really quite large, so it'll take a little bit longer for it to create the initial word cloud. We've got the initial word cloud, and we can start doing some coding. So I'm going to take the Tin Woodman and create a code, and this is good person character. Good character. And the Woodman is a good character. And we've got the Cowardly Lion, who is a good character. And we've got the Scarecrow, who is a good character. And we might try to remember what Toto was. So let's look at the references. Gray was a little black dog. He made Dorothy laugh. Okay, that's right. I remember now. Toto is the dog. So I'll go to the coding and I can say Toto is a good character. Then, of course, we get the Wicked Witch. So the Wicked Witch, we're going to create this, and this is a bad character. And the witch is also a bad character. Actually, we can probably say anything with wicked is going to be a bad character. So we've got this other phrase up here, winged monkeys. And again, if we can't quite remember what the winged monkeys are, I'd help to do this. Flew away to places, flew upon her. Okay, so as we start to see here, the winged monkeys are pretty bad, and once the winged monkeys caught the four travellers and Toto up in their arms, so we can see that the winged monkeys are bad characters. And in fact, in this book, all the monkeys were bad characters. So we've started to pull that together. We've got some minor characters as well that we perhaps want to come and have a look at. So we have Lovely Lady. We'll look at the references. So there's not many references. So maybe we'll code the Lovely Lady as a minor character. We'll just go minor character. And at the same time, we could have a look at the man with green whiskers. So we have a look reference. The soldier with green whiskers, the soldier with green whiskers. So I think we can go quite happily with saying that Green Whiskers was a minor character. So we've got some things there. Then we probably should have a look at some other characteristics. So we've got places. Emerald City is, we're going to create a code, we're going to go for place. Place. And of course, city is a place. Throne room is a place. The land of Oz is a place. Aunt M was a minor character. So we've got some bits and pieces there. So we should probably now pull Oz into the picture. So we're going to create a code Oz. Wizard of Oz. So Great Oz is a Wizard of Oz. Oz itself is sometimes a place, as in the land of Oz, and also the Wizard of Oz. So we're just going to stick there with the Wizard of Oz. The Great Wizard was the Wizard of Oz. Answered Oz was the Wizard of Oz. So, Answer the Scarecrow was, of course, a good character. Ask the Scarecrow was a good character. Green Girl was just a minor character. And we should also, looking at all these colours, say, okay, let's bring these into play at some point. So we'll go to the Green Girl again, but this time for green, I'm going to create a code which is just green. And I'm going to go to emerald and say that emerald is green. And I'm going to go to green whiskers and say that green is green. That's good. I'm going to go to green girl. Green is green. We've already got that one. That's good. Are there any other references around that? Nope. So one more code I'm going to put in is a fairly straightforward one, which is Dorothy. Wouldn't get very far in this story without having Dorothy. Ask Dorothy is going to be coded as a Dorothy. Forest, of course, is a place. Kansas is a place. Yellow brick is a place. So we've started now to pull all sorts of things together, and we've got a bit of a picture. And remember, this is based on the book. The book is slightly different to the film, so we don't have a yellow brick road, we have a road of yellow brick. And once we've got to this point, we can now go to the coding and say, what have we got? Okay, so if we look at the coding, one of the strong things we see is there's a lot of references to good characters. And if we click on good characters, we start to see them. And we see Toto and the Scarecrow, the Rescue of the Tin Woodman, and so on. So we can dive into all the information relating to the good characters. If we look at the bad characters, we see the witch, the wicked witch, all these sort of references. Minor characters, well, that was quite a good labelling for it. In fact, there's far fewer references to the minor characters than there are to the bad characters and the good characters. Plenty of references to place as we go through that. Green is really important. So we get green fields. Now, green fields wasn't something that we saw when we were looking at the word cloud earlier. So although the word cloud gives us an entry point into the words that are used the most frequently, it actually accesses the whole text. So we can look at the whole text and we can see the importance of green there, but also she had lovely green hair and green eyes. And this is going to be the reference to the green girl. Make yourself perfectly at home, said the green girl. If you wish for anything, ring the bell. So we see all of these pieces and information coming together to give us an understanding of what's going on in the framework. And now we have a piece, and of course, we have the importance of Dorothy. So just a quick note, I know there were 1 or 2 questions in there about what is this platform. It's WordCloud Plus. It's something that I've created with Will Poynter, you're going to see in a moment. The free version, unlimited projects, all sorts of bits and pieces, that gives you word clouds as pretty as you like. In terms of the coding, that comes in the premium version, but there is a 60-day free trial. So if you've got a project, you can do that whole project and you're still on the free trial. So that's fine. So with that, thank you so much for your forbearance. The other person on the slide with me is my co-founder, Will Poynter, who is the engineer who's created this clever tool.
Thanks, Ray. It's probably worth also saying that the 60-day free trial, that will be being reduced down to 30 days free trial in a couple of weeks' time. So if you want to get in and get the longer free trial for the premium version, create your account in the next couple of weeks is my recommendation.
So thank you for your time today. That's been much appreciated. If you have got any ideas or suggestions, please always feel free to send them through to us, and we'll be delighted to hear from you. Thank you so much. Bye.